Thank you, Mr. Chair. My great-grandmother grew up in a time when she had diabetes, and we had to boil syringes, right, in order for her to stay alive. And I remember my sister when she was diagnosed at age 3, and I don't know if my mother, who's sitting behind me, by the way, even remembers this, but I do remember at one time a discussion about whether they had done something to cause my sister to have diabetes. Was it their fault that she was diagnosed at age 3? It wasn't her fault. It's what happens. And I can tell you that growing up with a sister with diabetes is a heavy burden for the entire family. Constantly thinking about blood sugars, when those snacks need to be administered, making sure that we eat on a regular schedule, watching activity levels. And at least once a summer, when my sister would be outside playing or doing things outside like normal kids do, her blood sugar would drop and she would have an insulin reaction. And for folks around, and many of you in this room understand what that's like, but for those who don't, it is terrifying. It is truly terrifying to witness. And I can only begin to imagine, and there are many times I sat and I thought about what it must be like to be my sister, to be locked inside that insulin reaction, to be powerless, to be dependent on the people around you to administer the one thing you need to breathe, insulin. Without that insulin, you cannot breathe. That is how this works. This is not optional. People don't abuse insulin. We don't need to set artificial limits on access to insulin. No one abuses insulin. They must have it to breathe, to live. It is a necessary part. And I can tell you that personally, when I went off to college, for the first few months, I had a really tough time. I miss my family, yes, but I will tell you there was a huge sense of guilt when I left. And I want to tell you why. Because I shared a room with my sister. And if my sister had an insulin reaction in the middle of the night, I was the one who raised the alarm. I was the one who called my mother to administer that insulin shot. I was the one who sat with my sister and consoled her and comforted her and tried to make her feel comfortable until we could get her that life-saving insulin. And I was terrified when I went to college. What would happen if my sister had an insulin reaction in the middle of the night and I wasn't there? I have to tell you that my sister continued to struggle with this disease on how to get health insurance when she aged out of my parents and when she got married. It was a challenge. Getting access to anything has been a challenge. This is not something we need to debate and continue to debate. This is about making sure that people have access to life-saving drugs. We have all too long let healthcare companies, pharmaceutical companies, and pharmacy benefit managers take the care out of healthcare. It is time that we manage that, and we put patients back in the driver's seat where they belong. And it is my hope today that we can use this information and these hearings and this testimony to remember that when we have all these stories, what we're talking about here is giving people dignity and respect. And that is the thing that is all too often missing from these discussions. Again, I just want to repeat, insulin is like breathing. We can't do without it. I want to thank everyone here for being here today. And I want to say to those folks in this room who we have not gotten this done yet, that I apologize that we have failed you. We will continue to do better and we will get it done. Thank you.